You're watching Sitka Community TV. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see.
Let's all rise. Oh, you're all risen. And let's say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Tlingit people have been... You can do whatever you want.
You may be seated.
This is a free to choose meeting today. The Tlingit people have been indigenous to this land for over 10,000 years. Gunachish to the Tlingit people for their stewardship of the Tlingit Pawnee since time immemorial and today. Are there any visiting Rotarians? That was just a rumor that was spread this morning.
She decided to go to the dancing show. I'm sorry.
We can dance.
She said, well, the Cropsey was not higher on her
We can
list.
dance.
All right.
Sitkans can dance.
We can dance. That was a song in the 80s, if you remember.
I remember that.
Okay. No visiting Rotarians. Any Rotary announcements? John?
Via Shannon, just before I got here, she's looking for what conversation piece pins, lapel pins for the what's his name?
Enzo.
Enzo.
For Enzo. So if you're going to the picnic tonight, have a fancy pin that might give him some notoriety. She thought that would be a fun idea.
What about a Rotary pin? Like with the sea otter?
Give him a fair one. I'm just helping you.
So anyway, we're
Enzo's
looking
here.
for a unique pin so that our foreign exchange student can have something to talk about. I noticed a photo that Shannon sent me. He likes pins.
Yeah.
And he kind of collects those. So
Do you have like the Rotary jacket thingy on?
So Ed's got avocado pins, don't you?
I don't.
Oh.
I should.
You get him a sticker we could put on the back of his
I can do that.
briefcase. And you
I
go.
can get stickers.
those are nice stickers. I applied it to our Fortress's new old Dodge truck we bought for hauling fish. There is now a California avocado sticker on the back toe.
I'm sure that the bears would enjoy one of those.
Yeah, they do.
We had
They like
big-
avocados.
We had big fat bears on the ranch.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I love it.
Probably nice smooth coats
Very
too.
smooth.
Yeah.
The classiest bears ever.
Yeah.
To Rachel.
On that note, Enzo did arrive on Sunday night, and he's staying at my house, so he's doing good. I know, I think they were planning on coming to, so he might pop in here shortly, but it's fun to be his first host family, and my kids are really excited, especially my 11-year-old, who has now a big brother in the house for a few weeks. We did a family dinner, and he jumped right in and helped with cooking, and so we're excited about that and having him here and being a part of the club. So
Cool.
he'll be a really cool asset to our community for the next year.
Good.
Thanks, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any non-Rotary announcements? Dave?
Isn't there supposed to be a picnic, a picnic this afternoon for all the incoming students?
Yeah, it's at 6 tonight.
6 to 8.
Down at
Pioneer
the,
Park.
Pioneer Park.
Okay.
Nothing, I've been correct. Pardon my, I've been behaving for 2 weeks.
You weren't here, Jeff.
No. Thank you, John.
Okay.
Should we have a special pen for good behavior.
You wouldn't need very much.
Yeah, they wouldn't get used. All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Stacy Goldwyn, who's on short notice has agreed to share about a really upcoming, exciting project that she's working on in partnership with University of Alaska Sitka. So with that, I will turn it over to Stacy. And Sean's the only one on.
Yep, you've got me all set up.
All right, perfect.
Could you dim the front light here? Would
I
that be
sure
okay?
can.
I'll do that.
Oh, I gotta stay up here.
Which one, John? This one?
I'm not sure, no. There, that one.
You can go as much as you want.
No,
If you
there
fall
we go.
asleep, it's all good.
Yeah, that's better, thanks.
How's that?
That's good.
Is that better? All right, as mentioned, my name is Stacy Golden, and just a little background on me. I grew up in Ohio. I actually moved, I know, go Buckeyes. I moved to Sitka in 1994. I came up here when I was 17. I wanted to live somewhere that I could roll out of the mountains, fall into the oceans, and have humpback whales in my front yard. So, needless to say, Sitka is my dream. I went to Sheldon Jackson College, got my degree there in marine bio. My husband also went to school there, and he works for NSRA, Northern Southeast Regional Aquaculture Association. And the first couple of years we lived here, we were trying to figure out how to make it work and what to do with my marine bio degree. And I did volunteer work here for Jan Straley, and was just kind of piecing things together. I was a naturalist for Allen Marine, and everybody kept saying, oh, you should be a teacher, you should be a teacher. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And so I got a job working for SNEP, Sitka Native Ed programs, and I was a tutor at Sitka High and Pacific High for 2 years, and I fell in love with it. So I came to UAS, and I got my master's in teaching, and taught at Blatchley Middle School with Cal Hayashi for a year, and then I was able to move right into a job there. I taught there for 15 years, and I'm now in my 6th year at Sitka High School, and I love it. So this project is really kind of something that I always dreamed about, and for me, this is like where I'm like, you know, no matter how old you are, you can always chase your dreams, and I'm still chasing those dreams. I never thought I would get my hands on a real whale, and then I did my first necropsy, and I never thought I would get to like save a whale, and I haven't yet, but I was in this room 2 weeks ago and did whale disentanglement training, so now I know how to throw the harpoon and do all the things. And I never thought I'd get to work on a skeleton, and I got to work on Cruise Off, the killer whale at the Science Center, and now I'm leading this project. So that's kind of one of the big things this year that I'm like pushing different things with my students, and this year it's your dreams, you can chase them as long as you want, and they change and they evolve, and you just gotta go for it. So I'll tell you a little bit more about the project as we get into it, but I want to make sure you guys are aware of my 2 cohorts. So through the Sitka Sound Science Center, Alex McHarrell is going to be helping with this project, and she works in the research division at the Science Center under Lauren Bell, who's now there through UAS, or excuse me, from UCSC with her PhD and is now working there. And then through UAS, I'm working with Lauren Wild. And Lauren Wild teaches here with the Fish Tech program, and she also is the head of the Marine Mammal Stranding Network through NOAA, and that is part of her job umbrella through UAS. And so I've worked with Lauren a lot through the Stranding Network, which is kind of how I got involved in this. And feel free to ask questions at any time. If you got a question about a picture or whatever, you won't interrupt me at all. So this story kind of begins in March of this year. I was actually sitting at the airport getting ready to go to Costa Rica with my marine bio students, and I got a call from Lauren, and she's like, hey, we got a dead whale at Cruise Off, can you do a necropsy this week? And I said, sorry, I'm headed out. And so I was not there for the first meeting of our whale, but she is a 27-foot humpback whale. So 27 foot puts her in the category where she's a juvenile, She was no longer with mom. She would have been traveling on her own, but is not full grown yet. So that kind of poses some unique challenges with working with her. She was found between Inner and Mountain Point on Cruzoff. So if you're familiar with Cruzoff area, this would be north of Fred's Creek, but south of like Brent's Beach Cabin. And one of those nice big sand beaches over there. So the Stranding Network went over and just did a couple of samples on her. When we do necropsies, sometimes we do full samples, go all the way in, look at organs. Sometimes when we do necropsies, we just have a couple of samples that we're taking. And that was the case with this one. So a couple folks went over there with Lauren and did a few samples. They're pretty sure it was probably an orca predation. A lot of times when orcas attack, they focus on the mouth. They really like the tongue. And this humpback had some scars and stuff around the mouth area that looks like that might have been what it was, but not totally sure on that. So this is our whale in March. So when I came back from Costa Rica, I had a field trip that I do in collaboration with STA. And so we were out doing a herring trip with my kiddos, and Lauren was on the trip, as was Alex, and we started talking about the size of this humpback whale and the location. And so we got an idea. So on the left, upper left there, that's Cruzoff, the killer whale from Cruzoff Island that is down at the Science Center. And I helped work on that skeleton, and so we were thinking about that and size, and Cruzoff is smaller than this humpback. And then I was thinking about Thunder Mountain High School in Juneau. If you go into Thunder Mountain in their atrium, they have kind of a little loft area, and up above it they have several articulated marine mammal skeletons. And those skeletons have gotten there through the work of the woman on the right. Her name is Shannon Atkinson. She teaches through UAF, the School of Fisheries, but teaches in Juneau. And so she had co-taught a marine bio class for years where they had done those rearticulations. Shannon also was the lead in putting together Cruzoff with the Science Center. So we started talking about size of this humpback and location, knowing that Shannon was still in Juneau. And I was like, well, my ultimate dream would be to have a humpback to put up by the Northern Lights in the high school. And I was like, how crazy would that be? And here we are. So that's kind of how we got to this position. So at that point, the first thing we had to do was figure out some logistics. And we weren't going to be able to get everybody together to get out there for a while. So the first thing we wanted to do was tie the whale off so it didn't roll away and disappear. So I'm going to just play this video. So what we decided is that my husband and I would run out and try to tie the whale off because we weren't going to be able to get out there with the crew until May. So this is about the 3rd to 4th week in March. So we knew we needed to keep this whale here for about 5 weeks till we could get to it. So my husband and I went out, and this is what we found. Most of the balene's been cut out. Upper jaw's still there. It's like both mandibles still here. Definite birth predation. Doesn't look like anything's far enough down that any bones are going away yet. Lots of birds on site. We got here, no bears. Fluke all looks good. We're going to try to get a rope around the fluke and then probably get a line around the pectorals. Probably this far one might be the easiest. Beach access is pretty easy. We were able to bring in our raft, anchored our big boat out there. Rock piles are far enough away that a beach landing is pretty good and easy. Backside, lots of logs. I'm going to put up a bunch of signs. Obviously the ventral bridge has been hit pretty heavy. That'll just make our job easier. All right. So We threw some ropes around her and tied her off to some trees.
She said the baling's been cut out. What's cutting it out?
Probably people.
People?
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions on that?
Will it smell?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask, not really. I've been around enough whale stuff that the smell at that point was not bad yet. Usually when they're still pretty well covered, it's not till you get really into the inside that's decomposing and stuff that stinks. So yeah, she wasn't too bad at that point.
Are there rules about cutting baleen or things if you find an animal when you're in the wild?
Yeah, there are. So humpback whales are no longer listed as an endangered species. So it is okay to collect things from a dead whale, but then you need to register them with NOAA. And so NOAA will come and do, like I have a gray whale fin from a gray whale that I did. And so they just I have a paper that says I'm legally allowed to have those bones because I'm not native in any way. So I have to have paperwork to go with them.
Okay.
And so people can collect things, and that's one of the things that we're missing some vertebrae, and it could be that people collected them, which they're legally allowed to do. It could also be that they drifted away or got carried or, yeah. Uh-huh.
Do you put a message on the carcass saying, hands off, this belongs to this study?
I put a very nice note, yes, but I put a bunch of notes with Write in the Rain paper that said something essentially to please don't collect from this whale. We have an activity planned with UAS and Sitka School District or something like that. So, but things get pretty beat up. So then May 8th, I had already scheduled an Allen Marine boat for a full day field trip with my marine biology class. And we were originally gonna go collect marine debris. And so we shifted gears and went and collected whale parts. So we headed out. You can see Allen Marine boat there in the back. If you spent much time trying to get on beaches like that on cruise off, the day I showed you it was beautiful. Usually there's a big surf. So we had to have a smaller vessel to take us in and out. And you can tell in that picture we are all people who love to play with dead whales. Yes. We are super excited. So just a couple of things about logistics for that day. We did a full school day. We took the Allen Marine vessel and they gave us their educational route, of course. A friend of mine volunteered to stay with his drop bow. We also used my small inflatable. We had 23 volunteers that day. I had one middle schooler who volunteered and she was super helpful. We couldn't let her use the knives, but she was really helpful with our labeling process. I took 11 high school students with me, and then we had 11 various adults from the school district, the science center, UAS, 2 people from NSERA, and then a city employee as well. And one of the things that we do whenever you're dealing with whales is, you can imagine, it gets really dirty. So we told the kids, we need to establish a clean side and a dirty side. And 10 minutes later, we had this. And I was like, oh, you're brilliant. Adults, just the kids were like, we can do this. So you can see we had a beautiful day. So the first thing we did was I had assigned everybody to teams. So we had a team that I wanted on the skull. I had a team that was going to start on pectorals. A team that was going to start back at the tail end, and a team that was just going to go for it in the middle and start seeing what kind of ribs and vertebrae they could get out. So we got there and just started going into work. A lot of us, well, not a lot, there's probably about 4 of us that have had experience, and for most people this was a new thing. So we got rolling. You could see on that bottom right picture some of the vertebrae down near the fluke, which is the tail, had already been exposed. And then we just started cutting and removing bones. Our goal was to get as much meat off as possible so that we had the least amount of meat to bring back. A, it's stinky, B, it's a mess, and C, it's weight. So as much as we could get off, we did. So this is Willa. She works with Alan down in the not blast. It'll come to me. She does blast. Yeah. She works down there with Ellen, so that's the big scapula that came out. This was a super huge moment for us. The skull is kind of the crowning piece. And so we got it flipped up and rotated and into the bag, so we were super stoked. to get the skull through phase 1. So we were not able to get all of the bones that day. The bones really in the middle of the whale were just too enshrined in meat, and we were running short on time. So we had phase 1B. So we went back out June 18th. And this day, my friend with the drop bow and my husband on our boat, we just took a really small team with us. And we got out, and this is what it looked like. So it had changed dramatically in that time frame. And so this was a little bit of a different situation. It really felt more like an archaeological dig because the bones were all over the place. We actually walked that whole beach. Bones had gotten strewn into different places. So it could be that there's still bones out there. We've heard rumor that there might be a couple of ribs still out there, and we are short 2 ribs. So there was a lot of digging, a lot of going through like the rack line of the algae, just trying to find bones and random pieces laying around. And the right, that is, if you're unfamiliar on the left here, the right picture on the left side, this is Lauren for here at UAS, and that's Alex from the Science Center. So they're my cohorts in running this project.
And Annan.
And Annan, yes. Annan is like,
That was the best day of this year.
oh my gosh, my last picture you're gonna love. Annan is, if you don't know Annan Weiland, and he is one of those kids who just flourishes in the outside and is obsessed with everything natural. And he was so cute on this day. He says, Mrs. Golden, you know what you gotta do, right? I said, yes, just tell you have to get on the boat now. And he said, yep, because he just would not stop. Like the boy just dug and dug and dug. He's amazing. So at this point, we had all of the bones. The first half of the bones is SPC, actually put them in their freezer for us and held on to them. When we got the second batch on the 18th, we took them straight out to Metabichi Hatchery. And so during the summer and fall months, they store a bunch of their net pens out at the end of the bay. And they had a couple of these really small nets that Fish and Game had acquired and given them years ago that they've never used because they don't work for their pens. And so we were able to put them in and hang all of the bones in salt water. And so they've been in a saltwater soak for varying amounts of time, and I will show you this little video. It is super cool to see. Let's see if I get this one muted already. Yeah. So it's neat to see how some of the bones will float and some of the bones sink. So just very differing amounts of oil in the bones. So some that are less dense stayed up at the surface for a couple of weeks. Some immediately sunk right to the bottom of the nets that they are tied into. You can see we have a couple of orange buckets floating in there, and those orange buckets are holding the plates, which go on the vertebrae, and then some of the small, like, pectoral fins. We did find at least one of the vestigial legs. We also did find both of the ear bones, so those smaller bones are in those buckets, and they have been floating. And then this kind of next section of time has really been my husband and I, and so we went out, pulled a bunch of bones, cleaned them, then we did another group with Annan and a couple other folks, and then my husband did a couple while I was on vacation, and so this is now where we are sitting. This is Megan, and she teaches at Blatchley Middle School in 7th grade. And so these are now all of the bones that we have pulled from the ocean except for the skull. The skull is actually here at UAS. So the rest of the bones are sitting in the crawfish barge for the crawfish project that NSRA runs. That's my husband's project. And so the bones are just sitting in there getting nice and dry and letting that last little bit of oil come out of them. You can see some of the bones that are darker, like these ones. Ooh, are, so like these ones go to the skull and they have a little bit more oil in them. One of the big challenges with the younger whale is because the bones aren't fully developed yet, because they're still growing, they can get really spongy. So we're kind of battling this, how long do we soak some of the bones piece? But at this point, we have maybe 10 vertebrae still in the water and 1 pectoral and 1 bucket of random little bones left, still in the water.
How many are you missing, and what do you do to replace those?
Ooh, so here's my newest idea. We don't know for sure how many we're missing. We think we might have 2 vertebrae missing, or not 2 vertebrae, 2 ribs, but we think they might have slipped and maybe are sitting in the next net that we'll bring out. We're pretty sure we're missing a couple of vertebrae. So my current idea is once we see how many we're missing, I would like to have, you can typically make vertebrae out of silicone, or you can do 3D printing and people will put a bone in, like Cruise Off at the Science Center has one that they did that way, so that it's kind of hard to tell that they don't belong there. I kind of want to go a different route and showcase the bones that should be there but aren't. So for instance, like Charlie Skulka has a form line art class, and we have next to the wood shop, and so I thought it would be really cool, like if we were missing a vertebrae, to have the wood shop design and cut one, and then the form line art class to decorate it. I thought it'd be cool to have like the metal shop do one out of metal. I thought it would be cool to do like a marine debris plastic kind of piece that way. Have some of the kids in the 3D printing group with Viera 3D print some of them, and just kind of highlight different skills of our school and our community, the Science Center UAS, to show those different pieces within it, and kind of pull that kind of science and art and our community all together. So that's kind of my new idea, and I've been popping it off of a few people, and I've gotten good feedback so far. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, just it'd be fun. So yeah, I like, and the thing about that is, it's like, the thing about a project like this is it's not everybody's cup of tea. Not everybody wants to deal with a stinky whale bone. But all of a sudden, you get somebody who's gonna get to build something out of metal and weld it and put it together, or you get somebody that's gonna get to carve or paint or work with 3D pieces. Like, you bring in so many other people that can be involved in a project that really don't want to touch a dead gross whale. And that's really kind of one of our big things, is we want this collaborative piece to try and involve as many people as we can. Realistically in the time and stuff that we have kind of set forward.
Do you ever find any ambergris in the course?
I have not found any ambergris yet. No. Always looking, but you never know.
Be interesting.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Was this during the summer, or wasn't it? It wasn't?
So, yeah, it was reported stranded in March,
Oh, okay.
and then we did
But you had
bones
another
in May.
one over the summer that
Bones.
some people were involved in it. Didn't know.
That was all still this whale, just multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So then one of our big questions is where in the heck are we gonna do this at? So when they did Cruise Off, they were able to use the Science Center. That was a long time ago. The Science Center was much smaller at that time, not as busy, and it worked a little bit better. The building also stunk for years. So Lisa was like, we can totally support you, we'll bring in scientists in schools, but we really don't want it built here. And we were like, okay, no problem. And then we were like, what do we do? And one of my girlfriends was like, well, what about a container van? And I was like, oh. And then, so here we are now. Linden Transport sold us a refrigerated container van that no longer refrigerates, and they gave us a wicked sweet deal. And then we called K&E, and they brought over a couple of excavators because it didn't have the right lift pieces, and they pulled it off and charged us like bare minimum. And so it's actually sitting here at the north side of the building. It's right down there, and I'm working on getting like a logo and kind of a name on it. So we now have this container van. So now what we will do is some of the bones will need to be boiled in water. And then after that, you soak them in hydrogen peroxide and or ammonia, household grade ammonia, and that will help clean the bones out and whiten them. And Trish and Dirk at White's are working to order those chemicals for us and be able to get them here so that we have those to do. So that's kind of the next phase that we're going to start working on through this fall. And then the last phase is easy. We just have to create all the missing bones. We have to put it all together. We have to hang it up at the high school. So our goal is hopefully to be hanging this possibly around Whale Fest in fall of 2024. So this first fall is about getting them cleaned, seeing what we're missing and kind of getting that part ready. And then spring and summer into assembly, putting it together, and then with a year from now, be starting to look at how do we hang it up at the high school and working through that process. Some of the things that we are looking at working with and different ways people can be involved, we're gonna have a naming contest, so we can give her a name. My marine biology students will be involved over the course of the year, doing different kinds of things. UAS is exploring a dual credit option, something that they could do that could pull in kids from Edgecombe Pacific and Sitka High to be able to do something along that line. We're gonna have a boil-a-thon, so we're collecting a lot of pots and big gardening containers and crab pot cookers and propane tanks to borrow, and are hoping to do just like a big weekend where people can rotate through and we can just boil to get as much done as possible. At Whale Fest, we're looking at doing something. There's a lot of the high school students that come in for different programs from all over Southeast. So we're looking at doing something with them on Saturday morning. The Sitka Sound Science Center is going to bring Shannon in as a scientist in the schools 3 times over the course of the year. So each time she comes in, she'll do something in the community, and then she'll do something at the schools. So she'll do something with my biology students, something at BMS with the teacher who's been really involved, and then one other school in town. And then that creation of missing bones, once we see how many we have missing and how we want to put them together. We're also going to have some volunteer days where people can come and help put things together, and different expertise is definitely going to have to come in with putting the pieces and parts together. And then of course, financial. Those are some of the different things at this way that people can be involved. If you're on Facebook at all, I do have a Facebook page as well that you can follow, just Sitka Whale Rearticulation Project. And so we're trying to keep that updated. So far, just as terms of where we need to thank people, NSRA has been amazing. We've used their lifts, we've used their pens, we've used my husband, and they've been great at letting him help. Lyndon and K&E, I already mentioned. SPC was great at housing bones in the freezer. Alan Marine gave us educational rates. We've also considered doing like a boat trip with them this fall, and maybe having some bones on board and such. Ocean Conservancy gave us $500 to pay for gas for our boats for the trips in and out. I've gotten about $2,500 already through Donors Choose, which is an online process. And then Sitka Charitable Trust, I applied, I've got $10,000 through them. And we need anywhere from about 15-ish thousand more dollars is what we've been told to ballpark on. And we've had over 40 volunteers so far. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that's what I've been doing the last few months. Yeah,
Well,
Jeff?
do you know that Rotary has, if you're a nonprofit, you can apply for some money?
I can.
Yeah, and school
Even
district
as a
is
school
included,
district?
and this kind of is in our wheelhouse, anything
Okay.
involving kids,
Okay,
anything involving kids,
okay.
and anything.
Involving kids.
Kids,
Okay.
kids, science, learning, all that
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Education,
I just
I
go
like that.
online and- Perfect, all right. I'll do that for sure. Any other questions, ideas?
A great, exciting project.
Thank you.
Oh, and you should apply every year to the charitable trust.
I
This
do.
is also on there.
They're like amazing. They give us.
This is what they like, exactly this.
Mhm. Yeah, they're so great at giving to the high school, and yeah, they're phenomenal.
So you're looking for pots.
Pots, big, but they have to. At this point, I only need big pots, like big enough to hold like vertebrae. So they can't be. They have to be like at least this wide or bigger. Yeah.
And if you thought like a whale outdoors smells bad, just try it indoors. The Science Center just with their baby whale project. But the nice thing is, once it's hung at Sitka High School, it's gonna say everything Sitka High wants to say about itself, which is learning, science, nature, I mean, it'll be a beautiful thing, because everyone loves that baby whale. I mean, they walk in, they can't stop looking at it at the Science Center, and this will be so impressive.
And yeah, it'll be amazing because you'll be able to see it from under and then go upstairs and see it
from the
that
side.
light piece behind it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so we're super stoked. We're gonna do, if we do the vertebrae thing, we're gonna do a Sitka Wolves one in like all red, white, and blue. And Annan was actually like, oh, could we do one that like all the volunteers signed? I'm like, heck yeah! Like, and get all the signatures and companies. And yeah, so it's fun. It's kind of spreading and getting ideas, and so yeah, it's super cool. So.
Well, we want an update.
All right.
Keep us
Perfect.
updated.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, if you have anything else you ever need.
I have a question. Like, I can't help with money at all, but like, do you have like any projects that will need volunteering soon?
Yeah, so we're gonna, so the soonest in terms of at the community level will be the Boil-a-thon, which will be like, we're looking at like end of September, probably early October. And then, yeah, that's the next one I know of for sure. We're gonna get some of my kiddos rolling to start off with. And right now all the bones, other than the skull, are still at Metavici. We brought the skull in because the skull, so there was a big storm that came through, and it was like that November storm in June that we had, and it just churned it. And so the skull has been a little rough, and so she's still fine, but we didn't want to have to lift her as many times. So the skull is already down in the container van, and then, yeah, we'll get all the others brought in.
Do any of the museums in the state have any of the old whale oil boiling pots?
Oh, I don't
that they use
know.
on the whaling ships?
Yeah, like,
Because that would tie things together real neatly if you could actually borrow some of them for
Yeah.
your boiling.
yeah, that's a good idea. I had no idea.
You know, they're big and they
Yeah.
boil things.
I bought 3 of those big, like, I don't know, they're like 6 foot long, like gardening containers. We got one from True Value and a couple from Spinards, you know, that sit about this high. So we're gonna put those up on blocks and put underneath. But yeah, I hadn't thought about, that would be neat, bringing all the history of whaling. Yeah, so. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me. I'm gonna zip back to school.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
thanks.
you.
And so you want to come up?
Me?
Yeah, you.
You.
Yeah. Jay's going to introduce you as the backup host family. All right. Go. You want to introduce them?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's my great pleasure to introduce our exchange student for the next year. This is Enzo Germano. We just got back from 3 days in Willow, and Enzo, he won't brag about himself, but I'm happy to report, let me fix your collar here, that he was very popular among the exchange students and the adults. He socialized very well, and he volunteered. You helped with, he cut wood, learned a key Alaskan skill.
I tried to.
It's harder, I gotta say it's harder than it looks, but if any of you want to get him involved in that. He's looking for lots of ideas for volunteering, so if any of you in all your circles need a volunteer. But I'm gonna have him say a few things. Also, you see he has a great collection of buttons from trading. He is staying with Rachel's his first host family, and Jacob, and one more name I'm missing. Paul, yes.
And
And then,
Jax, the
if you
dog,
guys
yes.
have pins for him that you want to contribute, I have something to add. It is a pair of extra tufts. Just kind of, all, Sitka slippers, Sitka sneakers. But do you want to tell them what you learned during the weekend?
Yeah, so first of all, hi everybody. My name is Enzo Germano. I'm from Brazil, the south part of it. So I'll be staying with you guys for a year. Thanks for sponsoring me, and the things that we talked about a lot in Willow was like how to stay in the exchange and make it good. So one of the things I learned was always saying yes to opportunities. So if you guys have any opportunities, I'll probably say yes. And I'll try to do some volunteering. I'll try to be a member of this club and of the community. So yeah, that's it, I think.
You learn like what not to do, the 4 to 5 to 6 B's. And then they also have a list of 6 B's. And those are positive things you can do. Being present,
being first, being curious,
being
being on purpose is the one that's difficult for us because purpose is almost an English word.
It's almost an English word, yes.
Like just an English word. So being first, being curious, being on purpose, being here. I think being it didn't.
There are 6 anyway.
Yeah,
There's 6
there's
B's.
like so much B's.
But
Being kind.
What?
Being kind.
Impressively, that one wasn't it. Can you believe it?
I'm just throwing one out.
Yeah.
I mean, there is like being, I can't remember if it's being of service. But
Be
definitely,
of service.
there's definitely being present. That's one thing exchange students have
Oh,
a lot of problems with.
be here
Oh,
now.
can you get out your phones? And he will give you his phone number.
Okay.
And then you can invite him to do stuff. If there's a monthly grind coming up, if there's a special movie coming up.
Yeah.
Rachel knows everything that's going on in town, but if you guys are going to something, he can
Yeah.
be spontaneous. That's not one of the B's, but.
Yes. The B first.
We came up with a lot of alternative B's than the negative ones, but anyway. Jay has signed up to be a backup host family, so that time will come when Rachel,
Okay.
after 3-4 weeks are up, and then Cindy Gibson said she could probably help us out in the new year. And then the other host family are Laura and Jim Rogers. And they will have him through Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So we do have a little gap if you have any ideas.
So
He'll have like 6 host families, which is, which is great. You'll learn a lot of different lifestyles and family situations. But you probably have do you have any other?
No, we need his phone number.
Phone number. And
Yeah,
phone.
oh, yeah.
It's
That was-
907-623.
Oh my God, you know I don't. It's 907-623-2111.
Ah, that's an easy one.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah,
I don't think.
like if you're doing something and you think that it would be fun for me to do, and if you don't know if you should invite me, you can invite
Always
me.
say yes.
Yeah.
You should invite him.
And
Have him
like,
out to dinner.
yeah, anything, I'm there for it.
So if you're free on Wednesday, I would like to take you to dinner.
I would love to go to dinner.
Okay. We're gonna go to Pizza Express if anyone wants to come.
Well played.
Thanks, Shannon, and it's great to meet you, Enzo.
Nice meeting you all. After the meeting, I'll probably say hello to each and every one of you, so
He's just gonna
stick
stand
out
there.
for a little bit.
Good.
Have a great day with us.
All right. With that, I didn't look up what next week's speaker is, but you can go to the Sitka Rotary Club's website to see who's in line for next week.
It's not on there.
Well, then I guess you can't go there. But we all have Sharon's phone number, so you can text her and ask her.
I just called her because I was
With
answering
that,
the phone.
ready?
Wow, with authority, Jay.
That one's still ringing in our ears.
Residents, are you ready to unplug?
So John,
You can unplug it.
Huh?
You're getting practice.
I am.
It kicks over to battery when you do that, which is right there.
Put money onto his lunch account.
So, thank you for doing it, and I can't bend over that much and expect to come back up.
Take your shoe off and use your, well, I don't know.
I've tried most everything,
But it's like German with an O.
minimal success.
This is John.
Okay.
You have to meet the students. You are the counselor. You're one of the few vetted adults in our. Thanks a lot.
Avocado pins.
You're watching Sitka Community TV. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like what you see.